Hey, welcome back. So we were in the process of understanding the architecture behind creating a AI agentic full stack application, and the very first that comes into mind is what about UI, right? The very first component that the very first module that we're gonna develop should always be on UI, or it is up to you whether you want to develop the backend APIs or you want to come from that angle or you want to approach it from the UI angle. It is totally up to you. Let's first here, at least for the sake of discussion, we'll start with UI UX engineering first and try to prepare a checklist of what all the things that goes into UI layer, and see so that you can have a checklist at the end of the day. You can tick out that this is what has been done, right? So at least let's come up with a checklist. So before to that, let's look at what is the end product that we are trying to achieve. So I have created one by following this checklist, right? So I have tried creating. I'll make the checklist along with you guys. So in any case, this entire video is raw. Basically, I'll try to make things up and try to explain this architecture as we move along, right? So the end product, again, I will not give you any kind of code walkthrough or anything as such. What I would try, the end result of this is that it should give you the direction of what are the things that you need to have, if at all, if you are trying to make a UI application which is relevant to AI agentic world. So that is what the end product would be. And here, if you are here for kind of a code demo or a code walkthrough, or starting from scratch, it is not the correct platform to be. You can directly skip ahead. This is basically an architect overview of how and when to choose, why to choose this. In most of the applications, this is what is needed right now, rather than how to go about implementing. That is something which you could figure out in the later point. Again, let's get into the UI. So the end product of the UI is like this, right? So it has a nice little recommendation that it tries to give you, and a header component, and what do you say, an input component, and a recommendation component, and this is kind of a suggestion component. You would say you would have an icon component, and then you will have both of this. Let me hit hi. I have not connected to backend, it should fail for me, but in any case, let's hit hi and see that there was a loader icon that came in, and then there is hi, that is which is a user component, and then there is a bot component. So whether these need to be a separate component, or is it just an element within the component, we'll try to figure out what are the major holistic hole in whole things that need to be there, so that it takes up some form, right? And then you will also have this scroll feature and all this stuff. So this is what the end product of an AI would look like. AI UI will look like any typical chat application, right? If you have used Gemini, ChatGPT, or anything as such. So this is what it is. So let's get into the client. So again, this is a mono repo. So you see that client and server are both sitting at their own, as a sibling to each other. You can try having this client and server repository altogether different in a different repos. That will give you some benefit over making your CI/CD happen very well, so that you don't need to write out extra filter logic if you are committing into a client, so that the server CI/CDs doesn't kick in, or vice versa, right? So it is better to have like that, or it is also okay to have a monolithic repo like me, where client and server sits. In any case, here it is a mono repo. Now let's get into the angle of what all goes into this particular Next.js application. So as I told you before, this is a Next.js application which is based out on React. So I have chosen React, and Next.js being very prevalent in nowadays system, where you would see there are a good amount of going with Next.js, right? So it has an enhanced search engine optimization, flexible rendering strategies, and all this. They have server components, they have client side components, all this optimized with server side components. And then you need to be specifically say that use client tag, so that it is optimized. And if you are using anything which is within wrapped under use effect, you have to keep it in client component. So you have to make sure that you understand, or if at all, if you are learning Next.js right now, don't learn it by scratch trying to pick it up from the going in a theoretical means, understanding what the Next.js app, just get into it. Go to Next.js documentation, see how the Next.js application need to be created, follow the quick step of installing or templating the Next.js application, and then move along with it. If you know a bit of React, learn React to begin off with, not entirely again, just know a bit of a good number of features of what React has to offer. If you know basic HTML, CSS, JavaScript, that should be it. And if you don't know all this, like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, then that is where the learning angle comes. If you know this much, and then if you know a bit of React, if you have used in your project, that should be sufficient enough to get you started with Next.js, and you will try to figure out things along the way. So that is how you learn, basically, right? So you keep on hitting the block roads, and then that block road you discuss either you go ahead and then search, you do an extense, you read, you look at YouTube videos, you nowadays you have Gemini, you can chat with it, you can see how these block roads with what you know moving to the unknown, right? So you have to always follow this approach. Yeah, that would be the better better way to learn going forward from 2026 onwards, is what I feel. Anyways, so now once you have made this choice whether to go with React, and particularly one implementation of it is in Next.js, or you can also go with taking up in Vite or some other frameworks. But then since it is a full stack project and Next.js has a ecosystem that can be developed both in front end and back end, I chose with Next.js. It is a very valid, knowledgeable investment is what I felt, so I went with Next.js. So you can also take this, and then it out of the box it also provides Vercel, who are the developers of the Next.js stuff. So Vercel is out of box. What does Vercel has to offer? This entire thing, right? So this entire application is totally hosted on this entire host for free on Vercel, right? So Vercel is again an hosting. It's a company which takes care of Next.js improvements and all that. It has an enterprise edition, but for any people, any individual who is into this one, they have a competitive pricing list as well. We need not get into it, but Vercel pricing, we can get into it. It is almost for an hobby or a pro. You see this, for an hobby project, it is free forever. So it has an automatic CI/CD. That is and it has it's a web application firewall. These are the two stuff that you need to be you need to be concentrating while you are trying to set up an UI based out of Next.js, right? So what does that these things have to offer? Once you set up a simple client repo like I did, create a client folder, and then within that you install by going through the documentation of if you go to Next.js documentation, it will give you a typical. If you go to Next.js documentation, it will give you a nice little of how to get started. So if you go to installation, how do you go ahead and then create this? So you just go ahead and then create it. Once you have created it, make sure that you integrate with Vercel at the very beginning of it. So that's the key idea here. So if at all in the checklist that we need to do, so Next.js direct integration with Vercel from beginning itself, from inception, right? So if you do this, what will happen is you can see the live environment take shape, right? So as soon as you do this, CI/CD will kick in. As soon as you make a commit, you can always have this Vercel JSON, right? This is very handy. So if you are in a dev branch, you can turn it to be false. If you are making a feature, you can turn it. What does this do is that it will try to trigger a CI/CD for which you have written as true. So what will happen is that as soon as you make a commit to a main repo, what will happen is that it will CI/CD into this particular environment, and then you could see that this is what the production will finally look like. No more hassle of whether it is working on the development right now, and the figure is in this way, the UI components are in this way, and then the production it is in separate ways, right? So if you have a CI/CD, what will happen is that as soon as you make changes in your development and commit it into the repo, the soon it will be wired into a Vercel. So that is what a benefit, a big advantage that you will get having CI/CD set up. That too Vercel gives you out of the box. That is very easy to integrate as soon as you make that. So have it in the checklist that Next.js project need to be directly integrated to Vercel from the inception of your project. Like as soon as you create the template out of this, you integrate it. So you should be ideally seeing in production, you should be ideally seeing a welcome page or a hello world page from Vercel. So from there till you hit this kind of an UI or your own UI, you should be CI/CDing into that. So you are directly hosted, and then you are very close. As soon as you make the changes, you are into the production. That is what the key stuff that you need to remember while making this UI UX decisions, right? So that is first. Then comes choosing TypeScript, because it offers type safety and all of that. It has many other stuff like packages. What are the packages that we are trying to make use here? So there is Lucid React. So the Lucid React is for basically for all your icons, right? And what are the other stuff that it need to offer, that you can get it from there. And then there is Tailwind CSS for to have a good look and feel. Yeah, all typical. You can refer to this package JSON kind of a dependency list, and then you try to make your own. So I'm using this fetch event source from Microsoft as well, where this is for SSE consumption, that is server sent events. So server sent events is one more stuff that we're gonna touch across in while we discuss the client side as well, the backend side as well. So we will touch that in a bit. So then what next? Config, and then there are something I have used bun to basically bun dependency to make this happen. You can choose bun or npm pnpm to make your development efforts here. And then there is, as I told, there is type safety, and then there is utils. Yeah, so the second important stuff, so make it as generic as possible. So the next is generic. Like what does generic means? So basically it should have this internalization in, it is called as, sorry for my pronunciation, it is called as internalization. So that is basically your currency, your language format, your language settings, and all this that comes under internalization. Internationalization, sorry. It is that. So for that I have used, so you can use this Intel stuff, right? It comes as a package. Then comes the configurations. So these are configurations, right? So these are site related configurations where you will see what are the URLs that you are trying to host it across, so that the UI is self-aware about where it is hosted, what are the configurations that the site has, whether it is in what currency, what reason that it is hosted. Because as LLM, as you send and talk to LLM, right, you would need these self-aware features, like you can put in your daytime, your local daytime, your local time zone, so that your AI responses are very apt. So it is very apt to have a site config, and this site config will also give you all the benefits which I just told you about, right? And then as I told you before, this is the next important thing, to have a use cases. So any chat application, right? Imagine a chatbot not having these recommendation system, right? So these are use cases. Let's say we went with a name called as use cases. Let's say this entire use case thing is not there. So what it will be there, it will be a blunt out header and with an input blocks. So I mean, it is for the user, it's not a good experience, right? You give him or her saying what that this particular application has to offer. That is where a good experience comes into picture. So that what makes it a stand apart when you are making a good UX decision. So this use case system or use case JSON will provide you kind of that narration without having the intuitive feel that okay, this is what the application has to offer, and this is how I can make use of it. So a ready-made scenario that I want to track 45 rupees for my grill dinner at the grills. So you can just hit send and see how it performs, right? So that gives you a good experience for the user to make a good use of your front end application, right? So yeah, that is one thing that I would say. So the next checklist is that make sure that you have use cases set up, right? Then coming back, the site configuration, and then say the important bit. We will dwell into these components section later on, but before to that we will see all the other miscellaneous things, and then we can jump into the core stuff at the very end, right? So yeah, global icon, global css, and whatnot, right? These are typical as part of these are not something which I have created, right? These are something which comes as soon as you make Next.js templating. So those are the stuff comes. What you would create is you would try to create a component folder. If the component folder is not there, then you will start creating the components within them. That is what something which we need to concentrate on. So that's it. And I think so there will be public images, png, these are your brand. I mean, I have used this brand, so you can use that. Apart from that, yeah, that's pretty much it. Now let's get into the important component, that is the components, right? So the component section. So what are kind of, if you are making a chatbot application, what are the important components that gets into making such applications, right? The UI of it. So as soon as you see this UI, right, what are the things that you would notice? You would see that there is a nice little header, and there is a input chat box, right? And then there is this use case header with use cases, and then there is this entire chat section. That is, once you click this, hi, this is that. So, and then you also see the loader there. So those are the stuffs that you would have in any typical UI UX applications, right? So important stuffs to have is the components. So what are the components? In the components, right? So in the components, what are the things that you would need to have? Main chat, these are like the mother component, right, where everything will be hosted inside this. Will be I mean, in UI, it is basically, it is kind of an has a relation, right? So in chat, you have a suggestion card, you have a chat bubble, you have a chat skeleton, you have a chat input. That's pretty much, and you have a header component. You understood the gist, I think so. So see, this entire chat is a mother component. This entire stuff is a mother component, where in this, there will be header. That is this header. As soon as let's go ahead and then reset now. So this is that header that sits with inside it. So we need header. So that is the next component, header we need. And then what? Then we need suggestion cards. As told before, this is a header, and then this is a suggestion card. So we need a suggestion card. That is next component. Then what? Then as soon as we hit enter into a suggestion card, hit enter or something like that, we need to have a extensive chat bubble. So as soon as you say hi, right, what is that something that you will get? You get this entire, each one of it is a chat bubble, right? Either it will be of a type bot or it will be a type user. So that chat bubble, you should have a, sorry, I think I did not copy that chat bubble, sorry. Then what? We should have a chat skeleton. What is this chat skeleton? If you quickly look into this, this is nothing but a pulsating loader. If you see this, you will quickly, you need to observe, or otherwise I can say developer option, make it to, yeah, just let's get to the source. Okay, source is not configured. Okay, you can quickly observe. If I just say, you will see the loader, right? That will give you, that gives you that the UI is live, UI is not stuck. So that is something which is very important to have. Otherwise, the user experience, the UX part of it goes entirely tossed up, right? So that is why the chat skeleton comes into picture, that it is very important to have a chat skeleton component. Again, all these are there as part of this. All that you need to do is refer this itself. That will be sufficient. Otherwise, you can just go back, have this as an idea or a vision, and then try implementing your own version of a chat skeleton. You can refer to Tailwind CSS, read their documentation, be very quick about it, try to make something out of it, so that you understand the overall idea, right? So that is how you need to go about it. And again, the very last component is chat input. Isn't that all the things that are there? See this chat bubble, chat input, chat skeleton, and then there is header and suggestion card. The only thing that it is missed is this expense chart. We will get to that later on. So that is part of Shadcn we are trying to make use. So yeah, this is pretty much for any UI application. This is where this is what hole in hole that it goes inside making as a secret sauce. And you can add on these features. These are all add-on features. If you try to reset the chat, it will clear the history. If you get into a scroll button, jump to bottom, jump to top, all this scroll button, these are all add-on features. But what bare minimum that you would need as a component is all this, right? Now getting into the one more thing called as this expense chart, right? What is this expense chart? This is a Shadcn component, where in what is Shadcn? If you go to Shadcn, it gives you a ready-made UI. So you see this loading, you see this form. Likewise, if you see the dashboards, if you will get a ready-made UI, right? So all that you have to do is install. You go to the again, refer the documentation of it, and then you can quickly set this up dashboard very quickly. If you are in need of a dashboard, you need not write. There will be a configuration in what format the data should flow into this so that it renders for you. So that is so much of effort get into making this dashboard. You need not do it all from scratch. So the UI has went from doing all this from component, that is from user button, so making these simple components to making a bulk of component like a dashboard, right? So you can just take all that advantages right off the box if you use Shadcn. So Shadcn is the next important component that you should try having in your arsenal while you try to make a good looking UI. So that's right. So Shadcn, so you can have this as well. So this is one of the other checklists. So I have made use of chart. If you go here, if you go to the examples, you can say charts. So you see these charts, I have make use of these bar charts. So if you go scroll all the way down, so there are typical, these are all analogous charts. So if you go to the bar charts, right, these kinds of charts. So you can make use of all these ready-made components out of the box. So, and you should be knowing how to plug in the data. So that examples will walk you through that, right? So that is what pretty much goes in making up a Next.js chat, kind of a chatbot kind of an application, all in all. So yeah, this is, if I just hover so that I have a look of what I have missed, I don't think so. So the primary important thing is that once you have your UI ready, make sure that each time you make a check-in, always make a good use of Git, right? You commit regularly, you commit as soon as you are done with your work. Even a simple fix, you commit it, and then you see that in production. So that is how you commit more regularly, you commit more oftenly is the trick, so that you always see the production look of it instead of seeing it in your development. So that is the whole our idea of making an AI agentic UI UX kind of a client layer. So apart from that, you see that there should be an auto scroll. These are all good features or a bare minimum features that need to be involved again. So these are good to have kind of a feature, right? So auto scroll, chart resizing, loading, persistence to handle complex long running agentic sessions that comes in during the server sent events. The server try to send an event and then it is taking much longer due to a network latency, or it is trying it is thinking hard. So at that time it becomes very much one more thing that I tried missed was having server sent event configured, and what libraries that you need to make use in order to consume a server sent event, right? So if you get into charts, this is something which I have made use, which is fetch server sent events. That is from Microsoft stuff, right, which I told you before. So yeah, this is the one. So this is where the branching happens, the branching of updating server message. This could be optimized, but yeah, the overall idea is simple, that you make use of a kind of libraries, as if the libraries are available out of the box. If not, you try to make your own. So most of the applications where you use chat kind of a feature, most of the things are out of the box. You could try making use of it, and only things which are very specific to your use case, you try to make it on your own. So reuse as much as possible and commit as soon as you make the changes and see that into production, and have a bare minimum checklist that these are the bare minimum stuff that goes into making an UI UX. So you will be done with having a UI client layer ready. So that's all goes about making a UI layer. See you in the next